Welcome to Make Pods Great Again. I'm your host, back with my girl, Nikki, who is shoving melon in her mouth hole. What's going on?
I very politely, for the sake of all of our listeners, stopped shoveling melon into my mouth hole right before we started recording. The chewing sound in one of these like nice Blue Yeti microphones is just, it's not what you want on the podcast, believe me.
Yes, it was.
I know.
We could probably record it and sell it on OnlyFans, though.
Do
It
you
was
think,
lovely.
do you think I could make money? Because I 10 out of 10 would. 100%.
You absolutely
Have,
should. That
wait, have we talked on this show about the Sextrepreneur podcast?
No, but we probably should. But before we do that, let's introduce our guest, Armen Hammers, with us. Armen, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing? John, are you recovered or what?
Yeah. All right. First of all, we go off the rails really fast on this show.
I
I'm sure
know.
you figured
Sorry,
that
I
out.
already
But
started.
yeah, I'm mostly recovered. I did this true story. I did a wide yesterday. It wasn't that bad a workout. I'm gonna give it to you though. It sounds worse than it was. So it was 24-minute AMRAP. Starts with 1,000 meters on the assault bike. All
Ew.
right.
I'm
At-
already out. I just want
Yeah,
to let you
I've
Then-
turned around and
know. You
gone.
lost me at 24 minutes.
Well, it's not as
Oh!
bad as it sounds. It's kind of like a 3-rounder. So then in that first 8 minutes, once you complete the bike, you do as many rounds as you can, 5 chest to bar pull-ups, 6 hand release push-ups, and 7 deadlifts at 115 pounds. When you get to the 8-minute mark, you start over. You do it all again, same order. When you get to the 18-minute mark, so it's basically 3 6-minute AMRAPs,
Yeah.
right? And that's a pretty good workout for me. It's basically body weights, light deadlifts. Like I can handle all of that. Like I
It's good
typically have pretty
programming.
good cardio. Yeah. So I'm not kidding you. I finished the first 6 minutes and or 8 minutes and I'm 6 rounds in and I've got look at my little scoreboard in front of me. And I'm like, all right, I can do 18 rounds or I can do 15 rounds. I chose option B because I was straight up dizzy and like just
Oh,
dying. It was like my 5th wad back and my first one in an actual class. And it was not fun. So am I
no.
recovered? Yes. Am I paying for it? Absolutely.
Ugh,
It's not fun. Not fun at all. But
yikes.
what of? Yeah, I'll be
You'll
back.
get there.
I'll
Yeah.
get
He'll
there.
be back.
54 days or 53 days at this point, right? Is that how long it is
Yeah.
to the open?
Something like that.
Oh my God. That's
Picking up too
right.
fast.
Yeah. Shoot.
I know.
And Nikki, I love your background.
Thank you.
I've been for when you guys messaged me, you're like, hey, you know what? We did talk to Rosa and we did talk to O'Keefe, but we want to talk to you. And I was like, let's see what those guys had to say and see whether, I'm really the winner here coming in, following up those guys. And I've got to say the backgrounds you're picking are really classing up the joint. I mean, it's elegant.
Thanks.
It's real. It's got a great vibe. I don't know how else to
Yeah.
describe it.
Thank you. This is my backgrounds. If anybody ever watches this show, if you listen to it on the podcast, probably have no idea. But if you watch it on YouTube, you'll notice that I very strategically blocking the mass of unfolded clean laundry on the bed behind me. And have been ever since I started working from home at the beginning of COVID. So they change depending on what I feel like my dream house should look like in the moment. Currently, my background is Joanna Gaines's kitchen from her new cooking show on the Discovery Network, which I paid for.
Her kitchen?
Yeah, fuck off, right?
Are you kidding me?
I'm so serious and I want
Oh
it, but
my
I'll never have it.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's the
I
best.
am listen, I'm not gonna lie. That kitchen is doing things for me right now.
I know,
Holy-
it's legit. It's legit. I highly recommend the cooking show. If you're a basic bitch like me, you will love it.
And I do have to say, I know I'm just like taking this thing into weird places right now, but I have
Please.
to say, I watched that Rosa article, the interview you guys did. And the very first thing out of my mouth, the instant the video started, was holy shit, John and Eric look exactly alike.
I know.
They are fucking twins.
That
What-
bitch stole
what-
my look.
Bitch, so look.
What is that? Are you guys cosplaying as one another? I was so confused. And then you guys, you talked about it briefly, but you brushed over it. Like I would have spent half the fucking interview talking to him about how we ended up looking exactly the same.
Look, all right, here's my thought. Like, I don't know the guy that well or at all. Right. And you know me, like I say a lot of bad shit. So there's like a fine line from my mind works really fast. And so like I had a lot of jokes. I just wasn't sure how long the interview was going to last if I ran with it.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let Nikki do her thing. We're going to keep this professional for once. And we were good. But
Didn't
yeah.
I miss out though on the biggest opportunity to just sign in wearing a bald cap? Like I really fucked that up.
You really
I've
did.
been looking. I spent all of today looking for one. I was like, I've got to do this. I need the glasses. I need a bald cap. I need to come on and be like, what the fuck, John?
You know,
God, I would have been dead.
You could have just shaved your head, gone all in.
Could have real quick.
Mean,
I guess commit. I don't have commitment. I'm not committed enough.
I know. Wow.
Well, while we're going off the rails, can I backtrack like 7 conversations already? Because anyone who's listening from the beginning was probably like, what the fuck was Nikki talking about when she said the Sextrepreneur podcast?
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so Joe, who's the managing editor of the Morning Chalk Up, told me about this, and I haven't actually listened to it, but I'm dying to. He said that, so I guess there's this woman who has this podcast about how she like basically makes money off of like the sketchy weird people on the dark web who will like pay for whatever, like audio of me chewing on melon. And he was telling me, I have got to listen to it, but he was telling me that she like sells and makes money off of like her old flip-flops that have like the foot indentations like in them, and like her leg hair that she has shaved off of her legs. Oh and I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm sitting on a fucking gold mine.
You are.
I am. You
absolutely
and I was telling Matt about this, and I was like, how is that a thing? Like, how is that a thing that people will pay money for it? And he was like, why are you not out there making it rain? What the hell?
I have a strange story about this world. It doesn't have anything to do with me. It's not me, but a particular, you guys probably don't know her. She's in strongman. So she's a competitor in strongman. And she's like, you know, she's attractive. She's like our age, yours and mine, Nikki.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Great. Yep.
And she, you know, she has a bit of a following, and she would get people offering her thousands of dollars just to cradle them like a baby, just to hold them and cradle them like a baby. And I was like, you have to take that. I understand that you don't want to meet strangers on the internet, but that is a 100% you must accept that proposition. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'll hire security guards for a couple $100 to like make sure no one stabs you, sure, but like thousands of dollars to cradle a grown man, like a grown man who might be married. You know what I mean? Like really just not the right type of grown man that you're interested in, but wants to get cradled like a baby.
Is there a right type of man that wants to get? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. The physical interactions like skeeve me out, but the like, even if I got 25 cents for my shaved off leg hair, like it is just I am literally sending money down the drain.
Oh, I'll give you 50 cents.
Ooh,
yeah.
Top that offer.
Yeah, no doubt.
If anybody wants to offer me thousands of dollars to cradle them like a baby, you know where to find me. I am in.
Oh
well,
God.
I think what I told Matt was like, rather than shave my leg hair and sell it, what we should do is make him an OnlyFans, because there have got to be people out there with like a ginger fetish.
Yeah,
right?
you're one of them.
I am one of them. Yes, I would pay for my husband's OnlyFans.
Oh my God. I have a friend, an Instagram friend who works with Ramwad, and her name's Emma. And I'm like going through her story today, and I guess she had done some workout and her legs were all beat up from the workout. And so she had, you know, like a boomerang of her legs, but she had the feet like blocked off, so you couldn't see her feet. And I messaged her. So I messaged her. I'm like, you know, it's sad and hysterical that you had to block off the feet, knowing that every perv on Instagram is going to be in there looking at your feet photos. You know?
Yep.
It's like, oh,
what? That's a thing?
Oh, yeah, that's a fucking thing. Are you kidding me?
Where have
But
you
did
been?
you not? You got to go back and listen to the Danny Spiegel episode we recorded where she like, had her feet or her shoes or something in a totally innocuous post. And someone was like, "Oh, I'll give you $500 to like take another photo of your feet from me or whatever." And she was just so sick of the bullshit that she was like, "Yeah, my Venmo is like at Danny Spiegel or whatever it was." And it fucking showed up in her account. Like, cha-ching. Yeah, not fucking around. People who are into it are like so into it.
Yes.
Once Danny opened my eyes to this foot fetish thing being a thing, now anytime you see an athlete that posts a photo where their feet are visible, just go look at the comments.
Uh-huh.
Trust me,
Uh-huh.
you'll see it
gross.
all
Yeah.
over the place. It's like
Gnarly.
it's so creepy and weird and
Yeah.
amazingly funny all at once. It's the
Wait,
best.
can I just tell you the one thing that like knocked me on my ass when Joe was telling me about this podcast?
Yeah.
This chick got money, sold her, and I'm not making this up, sold her used IUD.
Oh.
There's a market. Armen's face right now. I can't.
No.
Like there's a
No.
market. Someone will buy it. What the
Oh.
hell?
What's the markup for that? What do you get for those these days?
I don't even know.
I am not okay. That is
I
not
know.
okay.
I know. What do you do with it?
I was kind of braced for it to be something disgusting, but that actually caught me off guard a little bit.
I
I'm
know.
not gonna lie. I wasn't sure what to expect, but it was not that.
know.
So thank you for that
You're
horrifying
welcome.
image that I'm gonna have to go to sleep to tonight.
I know. I can't process it. Anyway, how's that segue into welcome to the show, Armen? I have so many questions about what's happening in your life.
I feel so good.
Slightly
here.
adjacent to a removal of an IUD story.
This is almost exactly how we started the episode with Eric Rosa. I don't know.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Well, friggin' congrats, my friend, on expecting your first baby.
Thank you. I am super excited. My wife is super excited. Katie and I have we've been trying to have a kid for a little while now, and there have been some ups and downs, but this has been really, really good so far. We're in week 15, so we're right in the second trimester here, and yeah, it's been really cool.
So how did she tell you? Was it just like, oh my God, it's happening, I'm telling you right now? Or was there like some fanfare? How did it all go down?
So she and I, like I said, we've been trying for a couple of years, and we've had, our little experiences here and there trying to navigate that whole process. But we were on the verge of sort of going the IVF route. So we had been meeting with a bunch of different doctors and sort of taking a look at what our options were and what that process was going to look like, which, by the way, is not stressful at all. I mean,
of course not.
There's nothing stressful about that, and not even a little bit. But she had like an appointment with a doctor, and we were a day, maybe 2 days away from like starting the process of the drugs necessary for harvesting or whatever. And we'd been trying, and she was like, you know what, let's just take one more test, we'll see how it goes. And she like ran out of our bedroom. I'm like sitting on the couch doing where she ran. She's like, does this say what I think it says? It was really cute. It was really cute. And yeah, and it's stuck, which is great. So
very, very cool. How has she been feeling?
Actually, like, we had no issues. Like, she had no morning sickness, no nausea. I eat a lot of ground beef, and she's a vegetarian. So like the closest we've come to her having a sort of like food aversion is like, prepare your ground beef when I'm not in the house. She's like, make it well. I was like, okay, I could do that. I can make that happen for you.
You're growing our human, so like, okay, I guess.
A human inside of you that's half me, half you. I'll do that for you. I'll prepare my dinner when you're at work. So yeah, that's been the only thing. Like, she's had a couple like weeks here and there that have been like relatively low energy, just like kind of tired. but I think that's also to be expected.
Mhm.
But we have been pretty lucky in terms of what the pregnancy has gone. It's been pretty smooth sailing. So like knock on wood that's the case.
How cool. Are
Yeah.
you ready to be a friggin' dad, dude? Like this is a big
No.
fucking deal.
No. I think I don't know. I don't know anything about what to expect other than what people have told me. And like, I have nieces and nephews and stuff, but I haven't had to raise them
Right.
from like 0 to like 3 months or whatever. I just interact with them and get them high on sugar and hand them back to my brothers. Like it's
best part.
great.
That's
Yeah.
how you do it. That's what being a dad's like. It's great.
It's no different, right, John? I
Yeah.
imagine
It's
it's the
exactly
same
like
thing.
that.
Exactly the same.
So it's like, you know, I don't know what to expect. I don't feel prepared. I do function better when I have that type of like a doomsday clock hanging over my head. So like it's been a really productive few months for me, just
Cool.
knowing that, hey, this is the last opportunity I get to not have a child to care for, to like just do a bunch of different things that I need to get done. So yeah, I'm absolutely unprepared, and I don't know how I would prepare. Like there's how many audiobooks can I listen to? Because I'll listen to all of them, but I don't know if that's going to do anything for me.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, John, you just take over this question.
No, you ran a CrossFit, right? You owned one. I remember that, right? Yeah, then you're prepared. I mean, come on. You had like 100 babies at one time. This you got it down pat. It's all the same.
It's as simple as that. And you know what? Our bathroom will probably be cleaner
Yeah.
with the baby than it was at the gym. So
I just feel like a lot of the advice out there is bullshit. Like I have a bunch of friends, pregnant now. We're in that age group. And, I went to the bookstore a little while ago and I was like picking out some books to like bring to people or gift to people as gifts or whatever. And books on being a mom, books on what to eat while you're pregnant, what to, all this. And like every other book I opened was just bullshit. I was like, I'm not going to waste money on someone who wrote an entire book on how you really shouldn't be like jogging throughout pregnancy. It's really jostling for the baby. I'm like, who writes this shit? And who buys it and is so woefully like misinformed? And before people come after me being like, well, you really shouldn't, like whatever. All I'm saying is the recommendations are for the most part antiquated. And there is a lot less talking about what should feel right and what doesn't feel right and how you can make those decisions based on what your body's feeling versus like do or don't buy my program, do or don't eat what I'm telling you, do or don't meh. I feel like that's tough.
yeah, it's a confusing time, and because there's so many changes and there's so much that you just don't know to expect. And Katie works in this field. She's a nurse and she works in a clinic that treats pregnant women. That's what she does. And so she's like very in tune with what the experience is like for, the average pregnancy, as well as what to expect. And even some of the things that she's gone through, she's been like, oh, that's what that was. Like, I know it exists, but I didn't realize that that's what that was. And I think that's normal, but I also think like, man, if there's one industry that's entirely marketed by fear, it's babies.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is like, well, you don't want your baby to die, right? Well, you don't want your
Right.
baby to be a serial killer, right? And it's like, no, of course not. But how did we get this far without your stupid fucking book? If that's
Right.
what you're selling me right now, how did we do this?
Right. Exactly. I keep thinking like, well, our parents didn't have that book or our parents didn't have like insert whatever here and like we're fine.
I agree. Most of us turned out to be not serial killers. So
The high majority, at least. Yeah.
the majority of us turned out to be not serial killers. So I think clearly someone was doing something right most of the time.
Oh, how exciting.
You'll be fine. Look, here's the only thing I'll tell you. I'm definitely not going to get in this debate because I'll get blown up via DM, but postpartum's a real thing.
Sure.
So if you're going to read a book, read it on that. Matter of fact, it's such a real thing. When Nikki has babies, I'm banning her from the podcast for about 6 months after.
It's probably smart.
It's very smart. Very smart. But you can't babies they're kind of simple, dude. Like, they're fragile. You got to be careful with them, but they don't know you're an idiot. So you can kind of do anything you want. Matter of fact, they're going to think you're a genius straight up genius until they're like 10. Then they're going to figure out you're not. But you got about 10 years. They just think you're the greatest thing that ever walked the earth. So just enjoy
I'm
it.
so excited. I can't wait. I'm so pumped. I was a big like, nah, never getting married, never having kids. Like that was like me 10 years ago, or like, when Katie and I met, I was like, I'm just gonna be a sick uncle. It's gonna be awesome. And then she was like, wouldn't it be cool if we got married? And I was like, yeah, I guess. And she's like, I'll leave you if you don't get married to me. I was like, oh fuck, let's do this then.
Yep.
There's no way. There's no way my life is gonna improve without you in it. So let's go ahead and just make this happen. You're 100% right. That was the right move. And like over the past few years, as we've been sort of like talking about it, been like, yeah, it's like, kids are cool. Like I could see myself having kids. And like the past couple of years, it's been like, let's do this. Like give me a child. I want a little version of me. And by the way, we don't know if it's a boy or a girl.
I was just gonna ask.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it a secret. We're trying to surprise ourselves, do it the old fashioned way.
Well, look, dude, all the CrossFit babies this year have been girls with the exception of one. So you got
who's the one?
Who was it? Tim Paulson had a
had a boy. Wes, yeah.
But yeah, so Scott Panchek had a girl. Saxon's got twin girls.
Two girls, yeah.
Yes, twin girl. Well, he's married to a twin, and he's a twin. It's like what they think was going to happen. So now you got 3 Panchek girls. You got Andy Thor's daughter had a girl. The dancers had a girl.
Camille had a girl, right?
Camille had a girl. I mean, we got all these games babies that came this year. 2042 is going to be lit with athletes. And then we'll have, another little hammer on the sidelines. It'll be great with a little microphone and a little mullet, boy or girl. It won't matter.
That's right. And boy or girl, they're going to be named Armen. It's going to be great.
Oh, okay, great. So wait, let me rapid fire some questions at you. So due date approximate?
July 10th.
Oh, so great. July babies are the best. I speak from experience. And you're deciding not to find out the gender.
I will not know. I can almost guarantee you that Katie will find out at some point because she was the type of child that peeked at her Christmas gifts. So like she works in a clinic where every sonographer is like, hey, whenever you want a checkup, just let us know and we'll scan you. And she's like, okay. And like eventually they're going to let it slip, or eventually it's going to be like in her file somewhere. But I think I'll be able to keep it a secret from myself. That's what really matters.
How the fuck is she not going to tell you if she finds out?
We've had this conversation once and I was like, I kind of feel like you're going to find out and you're going to tell me, and it's not going to be disappointing because I'm excited regardless. And she was like, what? You dare, like you think that I'm going to let it slip if I find
now it's
anything? And I was like, you done played yourself.
Now it's a challenge. Yup. Okay. So we're gonna keep the gender hopefully a secret until the big day. Are you kicking around any like fave names, or is it just definitely Armen or Armenita?
we do have a whole list of names that we go through like on a weekly basis, and it shuffles around a bunch. Some of them are like family names and some of them are like Armenian names and some of them are not Armenian names at all. It's like, there's a couple on there that I really like, but there's just no way that I could pull it off. I feel like there's some of them that I'm just like, oh, I'm just not quite there yet to name my child Miko. So
such a cool name.
By the way, again, Miko Stalo poster right there.
Oh yeah, right there.
Yes.
Like, you can do whatever you want, dude. You can do whatever.
Like name the kid Miko. But like, I think she suggested that as like a separate thing. It had nothing to do with, our Miko.
Right.
Either way, like we have a bunch of different names. We have names that we work around.
Cool. Very cool.
Nothing that I really want to share. I don't want to put it out there. I mean, like, I don't know.
No, I feel like you gotta feel it. You gotta personally, like, I really like, was it Annie who told us about the tradition of they like come home with the baby and then they like wait like 4 or 5 days or something like that. And then they announce the name and then they have a party after they announce the name or whatever. Or maybe it's even longer. Maybe it's like 2 weeks. I kind of like the idea of like getting to know your baby before you give it a name, because the way it looks and the way it acts and its personality as it's kind of coming to life sort of like lends itself to, if you've got a couple names on your list, like what does this baby feel like? What does she
Yes.
act like? What
I
does she? I
could
kind of
I
like
couldn't
that
have done
idea.
that because Megan's name would have been asshole. She was a
Oh
terrible
well,
baby.
there's that. Yeah.
Terrible baby. Great kid now. Terrible baby.
Oh.
I
Hey,
mean, I
never-
feel like that's going to end up being what we do. I think we're going to end up being like, oh wow, like we have this list, but none of them really feel right, or like 3 of them feel right. How do
Yeah.
we pick? And we're just going to like not pick for as long as possible.
Yeah.
So that 9-year-old named like Baby A, it's like, we're going to name you someday, kiddo.
How do
I
you feel,
swear, it's coming.
honey? How do you feel about the name Greg Glassman? What do you think?
It's at the bottom of the list. So
Here's what I think we should do. I think we should go head to head in the Open, and the winner gets to name the baby. I think that would be fun. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
Okay. I mean, listen, as much as
If I lose, you can name my next one. That'd be great.
as much confidence as I have in myself that wouldn't be close, you were second in the worldwide scaled leaderboard, and that's a way higher than I've ever been. So
same girl, same.
You ever seen the TV show The League? About
Yeah,
so
fantasy-
good.
Did you see the season where they did that? They had whoever won the league got to name the baby, and they named the baby Chalupa Batman. So that could be a good baby name.
yeah, that's actually, I didn't want to say it, but that's near the top of the list.
I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Baby Babyface.
Baby baby face.
Mulletson. How about
Yeah,
that?
that's a good one.
That'd
That's
be
a
good,
very
too.
good one. Oh my God. Well, I am very excited for you, dude. Congratulations. I'm stoked that your life is going to take a big left turn, but for the better, for sure. So cool.
I can't wait to watch your episodes after this baby comes. Like right now, your episodes, by the way, I was just telling this to somebody the other day. I don't know what you're doing different. Your show's always been good, but lately, like your energy level's like really on point.
Because he's
Like,
amped. He's about to have a baby.
Maybe that's it. But I can't wait to see after the baby. You're gonna come in like all glassy eyed and getting 3 cups of coffee, just like hand on the head, going, all right, let's fucking talk about the game.
No, he's
Let's do
going to
this
be
again."
wearing the baby in
Yeah,
the show.
yeah,
Like,
probably.
he just fell asleep. I can't take him off. He's strapped to me. We're just going to do this. We're doing this right now.
I love it. I'm interested in doing both of those things. I will happily do both of those things.
Fantastic.
It's gonna be the best.
Can we talk a little bit about the impending doom
Yes.
of the Open
Oh.
and the game? Sorry, it's doom for me because I always get worked up.
Doom
But no,
for
no,
me.
no. It's not. It's exciting. And this year is going to be exciting. And part of why we reached out to have Armen on the show is because CrossFit Games just dropped their annual rule book. And there's a lot going on in it that we haven't read, but that Armen has read.
We knew Armen would read it. He'd do all the work, and all we had to do is show up. That was great. The perfect idea, really.
Can I tell you, I reference and read various sections of that rule book half a dozen times a day. I mean, I am like every moment I'm like editing something or I'm answering an email or like just even completely unrelated. I'll be like watching a YouTube video that has nothing to do with CrossFit, and I'll think of like a scenario and I'll be like, fuck, I need to find that in the rule book. And I'll like check it, I have it on my desktop. It's basically always open and I can just like control F whatever it is I'm looking for. It has become way too much of like a part of my life.
Do you mean like you'll think of a scenario like, what if an athlete won a sanctional and also did well in the Open, but then got his left hand bit off by a shark and now must be in the adaptive division? How do they change like little like scenarios like that?
Yeah, like here's an example. And I did a video on this today, I think. It was the Affiliate Cup rules are like the rule book came out on January 6th or 7th, but the Affiliate Cup eligibility rules start on January 1st. So you can't be a member of an Affiliate Cup team unless you were already a member of that affiliate starting January 1st. And I reached out to CrossFit. I was like, how strict are you going to be with this? And they said, very strict. And here, a perfect scenario is like, if you have a friend that joins your gym between now and March, they can't be on the affiliate team. They're not allowed to participate on the affiliate team. So if they're like going to be really big sticklers about it, then they won't allow new people joining gyms to do the Open on that affiliate's team, which is like a strange rule to put into place. But like, I understand why, but at the same time, like you're kind of really Like if you're going by the letter of the law there, you're painting yourself into a strange corner. But yes, it's exactly like that. It's exactly like scenarios like that.
Well, so let's start there, because part of why we wanted to have you on is to talk about like what's new and different this year, and how is that going to be affecting us overall when it comes to looking ahead at the competitive season. And so starting with the Affiliate Cup, which I personally am very excited to see back sort of in full force, meaning that like teams actually have to be working out together and members of the same gym, and can't be these like super teams that we've seen in the past, which had its own benefits. Don't get me wrong. I just am I'm nostalgic in that respect. And I liked when it was like full on gyms doing their thing, getting together, athletes who like live together, work together on a daily basis. So I like the return of the Affiliate Cup. But when it comes to rules like that, it gets messy for us regular people, but I kind of see the point for it when you're talking about teams that end up qualifying specifically for the games. And this is the games rule book. Yes, it applies to all of us because we all do CrossFit on a daily basis, but we're really trying to narrow it down to the top 1% of folks who are going to end up in Madison.
Yeah, the Affiliate Cup is it's perfectly in line with what Eric Rosa's stated goals are. It's like, if you haven't been able to tell, Eric Rosa's entire focus is on making the affiliate model work, whether it's as the affiliate model exists today or what it's going to be, because newsflash, it will change. So it's like the affiliates are the core of the business. The training is kind of like the funnel that gets people into the affiliates, but the affiliates are going to be eventually the main core revenue driver of this business. And so when you look at like the super team transition and removing the affiliates from the open and removing regionals, which was like a big driver for affiliates to like just try as hard as they can to like get a team out to the regionals, that had an effect on people's motivation or desire to be a part of that. So yeah, in a way, the Affiliate Cup thing makes total sense. Now, from like a spectator standpoint, honestly, the Affiliate Cup sucked. Like it was so hard to watch and it was so boring. And having teams of 6 was like the most confusing possible thing they could have done. I still remember to this day sitting in the stands in Carson watching them do that Murph event. And I was like, this is a disaster. There's no way of knowing
who's where, what, like
whose
whose arm is that? Yeah.
And there's no way of knowing what actual jockeying is going down on the field. It's just like, it was made to be logistically efficient, having a bunch of people do the same thing next to each other. And it was just really boring to watch. And they solved it a little bit with the teams of 4. And they solved it a lot when they just went down to like 7, 8, or 9 teams.
Right.
Before, there was just super teams packed full of athletes we all knew and recognized. And so, there's, like you said, there's trade-offs. I think the Affiliate Cup thing is really good for the affiliates. It's really good for morale. It's really good for the business, but it's going to be a little bit touch and go when we get to the actual competition and see what the teams have to do at the games.
I'm not convinced that we will lose this super team like format completely. Like I'm not convinced that people won't move and, legitimately join teams and gyms and legitimately become training partners. Of course, it's like kind of shitty that we're doing this in the time of COVID. Like now would be the perfect time to have remote super teams, but I do much prefer the affiliate model with it. But I'm not convinced that we're not going to see like the Mayhem team is a great example. They've always been together. And your face.
China lives in LA, or she not in LA, California. She lives in NorCal.
Right.
And Scott lives in Ohio. And they were living there as of January 1st. So that team doesn't exist right now. Like I don't know who Rich is going to put on his team. So he needs to find a woman, and like he needs to convince one of his female members and one of his male members to be his teammates. Otherwise, Mayhem can't defend the title.
Right.
That's not in 2019 because there was no team competition last year. So it's like that's actually a really particular specific situation of like, how does Rich resolve that? Because he didn't know that the January 1st date was going to be the start of the eligibility. because the rule book didn't come out until a week later. So if he didn't know that, you know, he definitely couldn't have prepared for it. And if he couldn't have prepared for it, then like what's he going to do as his backup? And I don't know what the answer to that is, but I think that's the type of like interesting, weird question and scenarios that pop up in the rule book.
It's far too late for me to move to Tennessee. So he's screwed.
Oh, what's he going to do?
I don't know. Totally screwed. Totally screwed.
Well, a lot of gyms like that, successful gyms with successful teams, have always had like an A team and a B team. So, you know, maybe they pull someone up who maybe was going to be on the B team.
A lot of that B team was remote. They had Fisagavi, who is also in Ohio, was on that B team before, you know. I mean, Armen's right. It's going to be tough. It'll be tough on all these teams, though. like
Absolutely.
I kind of like that. I like the idea of it, though. And I mean, I love Rich, and I've always loved watching, you know, Mayhem compete, but I like the idea of just some random people I've never heard of before having a shot at winning it. Yeah, it could be fun.
Yeah. Okay, what about... Oh, go ahead.
No, go for it, Nikki. Go for it.
No, I was going to change the subject. So if this is still on affiliate teams, keep going.
I was just going to put like a little bit of a button here. It's like there are for sure like super team level gyms out there. There were a few out there that were already competing at that level against those like hyper celebrity filled super teams, but were local affiliates that all trained with one another.
Like Milford
is one.
Fort Vancouver is one.
Vancouver's another one. Yeah. There's been a handful of teams that like, you know, their farm system was just really efficient at making great CrossFit teams. So it won't. I don't think we're going to lose the top end of performance as much as like it would be if you know, we were like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're going to lose the top end of performance that much. It's still going to be competitive. It's just going to be really interesting to see exactly what happens with some of those like outlandish scenarios, like with Rich's team.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how that plays out. What about on the individual side in the rulebook? What sort of stands out to you as some of the bigger points of differentiation for 2021?
So the existence of quarterfinals and the 3-week open is a really interesting thing to me, because if you look at it from, and I don't want to come across as like, I'm not a cynic. Okay. I just want to go ahead and say like, this is not a cynical take.
Okay.
There we go.
I'm just here to tell you what I'm seeing and how I would reason through why it's being the way it's being done. The open being 3 weeks long makes total sense. It's never had to be 5 weeks. Adding in an online competition after the open also makes total sense. And a great secondary effect of that is that you can make a lot of money doing it that way, because the open is still going to get a ton of people participating for $20 a head, and the quarterfinals are going to get 10% of everyone that was doing the open for $50 a head. So it's a fantastic way of making the open monetarily float itself a little bit better than it has before. But the thing that I like the most about the open quarterfinals is that it also builds in this kind of like, you can see step functions of the difficulty of CrossFit, right? Like we've seen an online CrossFit Games, so we know what that programming looks like, and it is terrifying. Like, it's not achievable by normal human beings. And at the very far end of the spectrum is going to be now this new like foundations version of the open, which is supposed to be the most accessible version of open workouts ever programmed. It's like the RX version, the scaled version, and then even below that, the foundations version, which makes sense because there's always that group of people that like scaled workout. They're like, I still can't do half of that. What are you talking about? And of course, like, make another version of the workout. Who cares? Make 10 versions of the workout. It doesn't matter. Just let people participate. Right. And so we have this now really beautiful spectrum that we're going to be able to see by the end of this season of what it looks like to have like the most accessible type workouts for an online competition to the most elite workouts for an online competition. And that to me is a cool thing, because it just gives you really clear visual representation of like how those things are sort of stepped up depending on the context.
None of that was cynical.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
That sounded great.
We talk about like, oh, they're going to make so much money doing the Open.
No,
It's
no,
like,
no. That's
I
not.
don't know.
Well, it's a business. I would
Yeah.
like CrossFit to make money so that I can benefit off of CrossFit having money and like doing great broadcasts, and like that's fine with me.
The banker in me railed on this a year or so when the regionals got canceled and Greg started thumbing his nose at the Open and we started losing people doing the Open. He deleted Instagram and Facebook, and I'm sitting there as a banker going, all right, what's the biggest money maker CrossFit has? It's the Open. It's free money. They're just printing money. And you had the Instagram and Facebook pages, free advertising to millions of people, and we just get rid of it. Right. And so what, you got a businessman running, and this isn't Bash Greg Day, but you got a businessman running the shop now, and he's going, all right, if I can get, let's just say 200,000 people to sign on, that's $4 million at $20 a head. But it's only 60% of the time. We're doing 3 weeks instead of 5. So now we're going to go, all right, let's take 10% of that group. Let's charge $50 for those guys when they get to quarterfinals. There's another $1 million for the exact same cost as it cost us before. And by the way, now we have our Facebook and Instagram pages back doing our free advertising. And we're going to do this gift card system, which is brilliant.
Genius.
Yeah. Encouraging more people to do it. So we're likely going to get far more than 200,000 people to do it. Like it's a monster win for CrossFit.
It makes a lot of sense to treat the Open like any other direct to consumer product and actually provide people the opportunity to like buy gift cards into it. Like it makes complete sense. I really enjoy that they flip the switch on that.
Well, you said at the top of this, like, Eric's driving force is to make the affiliate model work. Well, in order to make the affiliate model work financially, you can't raise the affiliate fee. These guys are living hand to mouth as it is. You can't raise the fee in order to make more money. So what's the best way to provide value to those affiliates? Do it through the Open, where people are wanting to give you money. They just want to, it's going to build your brand, because now you go back, hopefully, knock on wood, we're going to go back to the Open announcements and like the Friday Night Lights and the fun part of what we used to do. It's a monster win.
Yeah, and I think it's good to remember too that they are trying to improve on a system that they know was broken in some places. Like he said on this show that probably not this year, but next year, they're working on like a much better system, a better leaderboard, a better app, a better something that doesn't crash when it's 10 minutes to the time to put your scores in and none of us can do it. And we're all like emailing like help@crossfit.com being like, I tried to put it in, but your shit froze. Like they're aware and they're trying to better the system, as well as the complaints that we've heard, especially, the last year was weird, but the complaints that people had about the Open being a direct qualifier for games and how that was never the intention. And yeah, we were stuck there for a minute, but like, getting a couple more steps between something else online, these quarterfinals, these events, these, I won't call them sanctionals, but whatever they are, these events that stand between, step one and the CrossFit games, like provide more opportunity to see what people have in them and to level up the programming, like you've been saying.
I will push back a little. I agree with what you're saying, but I'm going to push back a little bit here. And the pushback that I have is the flaws in the system have not been addressed because the people that created those flaws are still at CrossFit and they're still in charge of those same exact systems. So like Greg was never the reason why the Open leaderboards would like crash 10 minutes to 5 p.m. Pacific on Monday evenings. Like that's not his fault. He's not the reason why anyone ever gave him the idea that the Open could be a direct qualifier to the games. Dave and his team have been touting off the Open being a perfect predictor for the games since it started. So like the people who kind of seeded these decisions and were in charge of what set up all of this like infrastructural problems and like sort of just deep issues within the system, they're still there. They're still there. They're still making decisions and they're going to do what they know how to do, which is recreate a lot of that stuff. So there's going to have to be improvement in what they do because right now Eric actually cares and wants it to improve.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's the same people being given a very similar directive using the same toolkit that they had before is going to lead into very similar waters. So like they're going to have much more oversight on them to make sure that they don't take us back to the same things that we were doing previously. Because yeah, the open announcements were fun. It was cool. But I mean, like I was there at 20.5 when we were told to, it was, we were in Boston. They told us local time 8:03. You are releasing the workout local time 8:03. At 7:58, Dave Castro posted the workout on his Instagram. And his team was the one who told us 8:03 p.m. Wait until 8:03 p.m. And I was like, hey man, if you can't even wait for like us who are actually working for you for free to do the thing that you asked us to do, like what are we even doing here? So that was like a really infuriating experience for me. And the same infrastructure that was in place that like led to the open becoming what it was and regionals becoming what it was and what happened over the past couple of years, all of its successes as well as its failures, that infrastructure is kind of still there.
Yeah, I hear where you're coming from with that. And to a point, I agree. But I actually will disagree with you fundamentally that the leadership at the top didn't have some kind of influence in that. And like, part of why I'm saying that is specifically because of the conversation that we had with Eric Rosa a couple of weeks ago now, which sort of led me to believe that, yes, maybe Greg was not the reason that the app crashed 10 minutes to, when we were all putting our scores in, because he wasn't the one solely responsible for that. But Eric brought it up without us saying it, brought it up being like, I know this was a problem and I'm at the top of this steering the ship and I'm going to do something to fix it. I'm going to hire a new technology person. I'm going to figure out how I can get my team and the team that's in charge of it to do what I also believe is right. So I think, and even going to the conversation of the year that we all kind of knew that it was like Greg's games, I'm doing air quotes, and not like Dave's games, because Greg had so much influence that Dave sort of like after the fact was like, that's not how I would have run it if I could have had my choice. Like, I do think that it's an integrated business, more so now, thank goodness, because the person at the helm has a vested interest in what we're doing here. But I guess I personally think that there's going to be more influence in all of those things, even though there are some people who are still there, flaws and all, there'll be more different, better, fresh eye influence on it now that there's a different person at the top who has a very distinct vision for the way he wants the business to go for the better.
I think you're both right.
Thanks. I think we're both right too.
Well, look, I see both sides of it. I think Greg was to blame only in the fact that he didn't invest in the infrastructure. Like he just didn't care enough to do it. Like, so he's not going to take direct blame. He didn't like do it himself, but he didn't spend any money on the tech. Like, so but to Armen's point, you still got Dave running the show, and Dave does a lot of petty shit. I can point you back to like a week ago where he's just trolling Rich every day, because he's petty. That's what he does. And I actually love him for it. Like, it's one of my favorite things about him.
Do you think that's petty? I think it's like the showmanship of like everyone being online and giving so much of a shit about social media.
I think it's proof that has not changed under new leadership, which is kind of Armen's point. Like, he's still running the shop. And like, Eric is a much more buttoned up professional. He's not HR's nightmare, like even with us, like every word was scripted and in a good way, like super professional. Like he's a businessman and he's really good at it. My point is like, the business is still being run on that side a little bit like it's a boys club, and that's okay. I don't look, absolutely. I don't have a problem with it. That's not a critique or a complaint. But, and it's part of what's fun. And I think special about our community is like some of this stuff is fun to watch. Like the trolling of Rich is funny. They're friendly. So it is funny, but it's not something you would see in corporate America. It just isn't. So I don't know. I think it will be interesting to see how it shapes up. I'm excited about the format. Armen's
Yeah.
point, like, you know,
Yeah.
how will it change? Will the programming be any different? Like, what's this, you know, quarterfinals going to look like? It's an
And
interesting dynamic to me.
I don't want it to sound like I'm being super doom and gloom. Like I think that the outlook for CrossFit is way more positive now than it was anytime in the last year and a half. Like I think that there's actually a potential that 10 years from now CrossFit exists as a business, and it's actually fundamentally serving a marketplace with its product. I think that is it has a higher chance of doing that now than it did a year and a half ago. And that's great. I think that's a really good thing. I'm just pointing out the fact that like with all of this like monumental change that happened at CrossFit, and with such a clear difference in direction, uh if you're still giving the same people the same tools and similar directives, they're going to end up trying to do the same things. And what's the first thing that we saw? We saw no regionals, but continents. And it's like, okay, yeah, you love your regions, man. Like it makes total sense. Split everything up by regions. I completely get it. It's functional, but like you painted yourself in a corner. Like, what are the semifinals going to look like? We have no details on the back half of the season, and we don't know what events are going to be involved in the semifinals. It sounds like the rule book is saying that the semifinals, you're going to be required to compete within your actual continent, which is defined by your citizenship. So like Tia is going to have to go back to Australia to compete to make it to the CrossFit Games. So like she's going to go from living in the States, which I'm assuming she's going to still be living in the States after she finishes up in Korea. But like, let's just assume she's going to go from living in the States to competing in Australia and then coming back to the States to compete in the games a month later or 6 weeks later. And that's a lot to ask. And she's just like one example. She just happens to be the best example because she's the best female CrossFitter. But like that type of like decision making, it's like you have a hammer, you see a nail. That's basically all I'm trying to point out is like there's going to be a lot of similar familiar decisions made, and it might end up being positive, it might end up being negative, and it might end up making some of the same mistakes, but that's kind of where it's going to end up going, in my opinion.
Yeah. I guess from my perspective, like I'm not mad about that because I don't know, like on the competitive side of things, like I want Dave in charge. Like I want him to keep doing the things that he's been doing because I like the way that they've been going. Like I like the open, I like the programming, I like his take on programming theory and the way that he sort of like sees the linear relationship between point A and point B of these athletes that are going from starting in their garages to on the floors in Madison. Like and regionals and continents, like harkening back to where it was, like that hits me in my CrossFit heart. And so I don't see that as being an issue as far as like give the same people the same tools and the same things are going to happen, because I want the same things to happen in one respect or another. Obviously there are flaws in the system and change is good, but I do feel like when it comes to the rules specifically, like it would be very hard to make it this international competition, this sort of like stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3 with athletes all over the world in different divisions and different everything, without some shit getting messy like what you were just describing with. And I now my brain is like, well fuck, like what if travel is still jacked up by the time that the games are happening too? Like, are we going to start changing the rule book down the road because countries aren't allowing other people to come in? And it's so messy, but I also can't picture a world where it wouldn't be messy. There's too many factors, and other sports don't have all these factors, right?
That's true. It is an incredibly complex situation because we're dealing with a large group of people spread around the largest geographic zone possible, which is the entire planet.
The only geographic zone we know.
Of various and there's going to be a lot of circumstances that come up. And one of the things that I absolutely unequivocally will say about Dave and his team is that they've been exceptionally good at problem solving those types of issues. So I have a lot of confidence that the games will go off regardless of what like curveballs are thrown at them. And that was one of the big things that I think I may have either miscommunicated or focused poorly on last year was like, I think I sent across the message that I didn't want to see the games, that I wanted them to not focus on the games during the COVID shutdown, and that they should focus on like, cleaning house and figuring out what CrossFit's going to do. And in hindsight, that was a bad take. Like that was a freezing cold take, because by focusing on the games and putting attention to it and allowing it to continue to exist as a potential, it opened the doors for them. It never closed the door on the situation. And I think that's a lesson that like I learned by watching how he and his team took on that challenge, which I found to be really admirable. And I love the way that he was able to pull that off. Even if at the end of the day, I disagree with some of the things that they did, I think it was a really cool way of actually making sure that they never, closed the door on being able to put on an event, and were able to successfully put something on. So, it's like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll end up seeing what happens. Like the time is going to march on super fast. Like now I'm not super worried about like summer, because that's when the games are happening. Like summer is when my baby is being born. So
seriously,
like it's happening regardless of my preparation. It's happening. My opinion doesn't have anything to do with it. My preparation has nothing to do with it. Much like the games, my baby will be born in summer, and like the games will happen in summer. It's just gonna have to happen. So like, yeah, I can have an opinion about things and have like the general outlook, but like it's just gonna occur, and I'm gonna have to live with it and deal with it. And like everybody else, they're all gonna have to live with and deal with my baby. So
that's a good way of looking at it.
yeah.
I think you should bring your baby to games. That's what you should do.
I think that would be fantastic.
I think you should blame everything on the baby moving forward. So when you have the baby on your show, you can be like, I think Dave's programming was good, but my baby thinks he's a dickhead. That's what I would do. It's a great idea.
I mean, you know what? That's not a bad idea. People have told me before, be like, hey man, you should have like a separate character played by you on the channel that you argue with. And I was like, that's a great idea. Actually, really good idea.
Creating one now. It's in production.
I might be working on that. I might be working on that one.
You like dub over your baby's face, but it's like your voice. I don't know. I think it's a great idea. I thought that everything went really smoothly this year, but young Miko here disagrees and will tell you right now why.
Yes, and it'll be just like his face and or her face or whatever, and like a little mouth, my mouth moving like the old Conan bits.
I hope it's a little girl named Miko.
Obviously. What else is named little girls?
That's it. That's totally it. But yeah, format wise, like obviously this year is so different. I will say I'm gonna shoot my shot on this one. I do think that 3 weeks of workouts means maybe 1, if not 2, like part A, part B. I'm just throwing that out there for the Open.
I think that's reasonable, but like we'll look at all the other part A, part Bs, right? The part A's have always been, or the second part has always been a weightlifting thing.
Totally.
So either he's going to add the second part is now a gymnastics thing, but because there's no way that they can require people to have enough weights to do an ascending weightlifting ladder. Like, can you imagine if they were like, check it out, guys, we're redoing that workout with the pistols and the step ups and the clean and jerks up to 315. And everyone's just like, are you kidding me? I'm locked down in my garage right now, and I just was able to cobble together one 35-pound plate and a 25 and 2 5-pound change plates. Like, you want me to do 315-pound what's? And it's like, yeah, that person was never going to get to that point of the workout, but it's still like, I think it might still be an unreasonable expectation. So I don't know, maybe those part A's and part B's are going to be like a gymnastics thing or something. I don't know. Or
it's like part B is like, how many fucking air squats can you do in a minute after you just destroyed your legs doing rowing and wall balls and this and that and the other thing?
Maybe it's going to be something I don't give a shit about anyway.
Here's my call.
About them.
Okay.
Here's my call. The best possible part A, like the best possible like second part to a workout that's just a brutal test, would be a max bar hang.
Ew.
Yeah, no.
Because
after something grippy,
it would do a lot of it would be a lot of ties on the leaderboard, but who cares? It would be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'd be into it. I'd be totally into it.
In my current cardio state, I would actually look forward to just hanging on something. That'd be great.
Yeah, but how difficult is it to breathe when you're hanging there? Your chest starts to like cave in.
I don't know. I felt like I was 3 beats away from a heart attack yesterday, so I'll take the hang any day of the week.
Anything other than the big structural changes that sort of stick out to you as far as rule changes, differences for this year?
Yeah, like the rule book actually included. So in 2021, for the first time, there's an overall cash prize for the Open. Whereas before it was always the weekly cash prizes. They're the weekly cash prizes still this time around, but there's now an overall cash prize, which is really cool. I mean, it's cool to see the Open start having a little bit more of a cash prize, but the flip side of that is that there's nothing about cash prizes from quarterfinals or semifinals or the CrossFit Games, which is generally included in the rule book in the past few years. And that is 100% because Reebok is no longer in the picture and we don't know who the title sponsor is. So either they're still in the process of figuring that out, or they haven't locked it up, or they're not comfortable mentioning it, or they just don't know what the prize money is going to be. But if they knew, they would have told us, because it would be something that's worth talking about. So that is an interesting thing to point out, like where the Open is sort of seeing a little bit of a gain in terms of the monetary prize money being offered there, and the rest of the season is kind of left in the sort of unknown about what that's going to end up looking like. But other than that, there are a couple little things that stick out, and it makes sense. This is like a problem solving thing. Like you mentioned, the COVID situation is still going on. You know, there's 100% going to be gyms that have members who just cannot or are not able to come into their facility, or their just facility is not available to have anybody there. And so this year, affiliate managers can give the green light. They can okay scores from their own members that their members did at their house.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's pretty cool.
I mean, it's definitely a way of problem solving. It does sort of, it kind of brings a little bit of questioning into it, is like, just how strict are you going to be about those scores? You know, if you're just able to, give the thumbs up for whatever it is your affiliate members do, regardless of whether they're under your roof or at their house.
Do those affiliate members from home have to record the workout for their coach to?
There's no requirement for that. It literally just says that, like, in this year, because of COVID situations, affiliate managers can approve of submitted scores from their own members if they did it at their home. It's like you have to have done it in your home and be an active member of that affiliate, and the affiliate manager can green light it. Whereas, like, otherwise you'd have to either have done it at that affiliate and had a judge, or submitted your video to video review.
Right. However,
not.
However, I assume that, like in the past, if an athlete has ever been close to qualifying for anything, CrossFit HQ has the right to request the videos.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you're doing this at home and you have no judge and whatever, and your affiliate manager greenlights your score and you're close to qualifying, CrossFit still has the right to ask you for your video. And if you don't have it, then you may not be able to move ahead.
Absolutely. If you don't provide the videos that CrossFit asked for, so that video review process still exists. The top the top part of the system, the qualifying part of the system, is as strict as it has been in the past. It's very clearly laid out that, you're going to be required to submit at least one of those weeks worth of videos for your open workouts. Same thing for the quarterfinals. You have to film everything for the quarterfinals. And while you can do the quarterfinals in your garage, their preference is that you do it at an affiliate with a judge. So it's like they have like all these different scenarios in place. But yes, you're 100% right. The video review process for the top end of the spectrum is still in place.
So I get it. It's a little like, how strict are you going to be about whatever like that could affect your ego and your buddies on your own leaderboard? But I don't foresee that being an issue when it comes to the end of the line qualifications.
No, it's not. It's none of these. Listen, none of these are going to be an issue. It's like none of this is going to affect, whether Tia or Matt or whatever, like Katrin make it to quarterfinals into semifinals. Like it's not gonna change any of that. But it's certainly interesting. The reason why I think I become such a the reason why I read between the lines so much is because this is our insight into how their minds work. They don't tell us what they're thinking. They just give us the rules that they ended up with. So you can kind of work backwards a little bit and kind of shine a light into those dark corners. You can kind of see like, oh, here's the rule. Why would they do it this way versus the other way? And if you can't get a straight answer from them, you kind of have to think it through as far back as you can. All right. So like, what were the options? What could they have done? And then you start looking at why they don't pick the other ones that they ended up leaving on the cutting room floor. And you start seeing some motivations. You start seeing some prioritizing of what it is that is going to be, their end result that they're looking for, the goals they're trying to accomplish. And I think that's why I feel like I become such a stickler of like these weird little rules and like understanding like these little minutia about what happens at the competitions or what's allowed and what isn't, because it tells you so much about their overall mindset about how they're putting the sport together. And it's like, none of it's new. Of course not. If it was new, like, we'd all be really surprised by what the rules look like, but the rules look really familiar. Like generally not a lot of it has changed. Like really the biggest things that stick out is like kind of what's missing, which is the back half of the season.
Right. Yeah. And I would venture a guess that there's just too much unknown to be able to put that down on paper right now.
Oh, they have no idea. I guarantee they just don't know. And that's fine. Like this is a weird situation. And it would be really surprising if they just kind of published in January a perfect sketch of what the rules and the season is going to look like. But yeah, they're learning it like every day. They're getting a better and better idea of what they can pull off and how they can pull it off. And we're going to, like I said, inevitable march of time. The games will happen in the summer. My baby's going to be born in the summer. We're going to figure out the details somewhere in between here and there. There's nothing else to say.
It's going to be great. It's going to be totally great. That's perfect, man. Thanks so much for giving us all that insight and your take on it. Like I do just love you look at it with fresh eyes every single year and you're like, I'm not going to hold myself to what I said last year. I'm not going to come in with any sort of like preconceived notion. I'm just going to evaluate this for what it is in our current situation. And I very much appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you. I feel like you give me a lot of credit with that sentence, but I appreciate it.
I could have just been like, I feel like you are hypercritical of everything. And so I want to hear what you have to say, but it's not that. It's not truly.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
I think you're hyper analytical.
Yeah, exactly.
Not critical.
Yeah, which I love.
Thanks. I'll take that.
And you're not, you're always willing to call bullshit where you see it, which I also appreciate. So that's always
including on yourself, which is
including
huge.
On myself. That's right. Yeah. And I try to also heap praise where I see praise valuable as well. But I miss that way more often than I miss being critical. That's for sure. Or analytical.
Yeah. And also we weren't going to read it. So thanks.
Yeah. My pleasure.
No chance I was reading that rule book. Although now that I know Saxon can just validate my score, then we'll go in tomorrow. Hey, Saxon, do you have change for 100? Just keep it, buddy. Hey, listen, when the Open comes around, I'm going to be submitting some home scores, just so you know. They're going to be real good.
Wait, I will say, can I say this out loud before someone shits all over me? I do read the rule book if and when I get hired to work for the season. Okay?
Fair.
I will say that. Before someone's like, how is she on the sideline and not having any idea what's going on in the rule book? No. When that happens, I do my homework.
No one's paying me to read the rule book, guys. I think that's the key. That's the difference. That's the key difference. And
exactly.
CrossFit paying me to do any of this.
Right. Out of the goodness of your heart and passion for the community.
Well, they're not paying me shit either, so we're in the same boat there, buddy. No doubt about it.
Nice.
When Armen and I first met, Nikki, we were at a health conference, and in Santa Cruz. You brought us
Yeah.
out there for that, and we were having breakfast. And I'm positive to this day, Armen's sitting there going, "How the hell did this meme asshole get invited to this thing?" and here we are, a couple of years later, and he's probably on the other end of this going, "How is this meme asshole still around?" Like,
Does he still have a podcast?
how did
My
this
cheeks hurt, you
happen?
guys.
I did not think that. I did not think that because I feel like I had an idea of why you were there. It's because you were poking fun at like the same things that Greg was poking fun at within the company. And he was like, fuck it, this guy gets it. Let's get him out here and figure out like what he's all about. And I think that might have been what it was. I don't know, maybe you have a different take on it, but I think I was more confused that like I found myself at breakfast with like you, a meme lord in the CrossFit space who's like really buttoned up professional in the real world. And I was like still just a kid with a microphone and a camera. That was the weekend that I was interviewing Greg, and I crashed the mountain bike like 5 minutes before I was supposed to be at HQ. And you still look at that interview, like I am literally disheveled, like covered in dust, scratches on my legs, scratches on my face. And he was like, "You okay, kid? Like what happened to you?" I was like, "I rushed back. I like fell off the mountain bike. It was so much fun, but here I am." Yeah, that was a wild time. That was a wild time. But yeah, I think that's what it is. We've survived, Wooly. We made it. We
You
made
guys
it through the
did. You're still here.
No idea how. No idea how.
Me neither, man.
Well, I'm proud of you both.
I think it's
Thanks.
I think it's a testament to the community. And for the record, Armen, I think you're too harsh on yourself. Like, I didn't feel you were critical or too critical last year during all the stuff that went on that we don't need to rehash. Like, I think you call it like you see it, and you saw a lot of stuff and you talked about it. And, like, I think we all look back on it now and think, like I look back on some of the stuff I was even posting going, was that too harsh? Like at the time it wasn't. In hindsight, maybe. But hindsight's a different thing. You know what I mean? Like everything looks different in the rear view. At the time it worked, So I think your content's great. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I guess too, what I'll add is I appreciate that most of the people in our community are willing to just have open discussion. Like none of us are real assholes. I mean, no, plenty of people will disagree with me, but none of us are real assholes. Like everyone is poking fun at or being critical of or whatever in order to spark a discussion. And we'll always sit there and be like, oh, if you disagree with me, tell me why. And I will have a open chat with you about why I disagree with you as well, sir. Like no one's like, fuck you, this is what I think. I mean, plenty of people are, but not us, not
I will give you an
who
opinion.
are like trying to have a microphone about this kind of thing.
Well, here's one opinion on it that I felt like I saw on your page often, Armen. So I'm curious on how it feels to you as me as an outsider looking in. So during that period, I remember a few people coming in your comments and they'd say things like, "This asshole's always bashing CrossFit," which you weren't. And it'd be one guy, right? And so I'm looking at it going, that's just one dude's opinion. But when people do that on my page, I'm like, everyone thinks I'm an asshole, even though it's just one guy, right? Is that how it feels to you? Because that's how it feels to me. If one person does it, I'm like, everyone hates me.
Yeah, I subscribe. It does feel that way. I subscribe to the 10x rule. So if one person says it, I assume that 10 times as many people are thinking it, but didn't say it. And so I have a whole series of, like mental checks that I use and a lot of it has to do with like the practical thing. So like, for example, here's a perfect example. I put out a video on like this past weekend where I kind of addressed this thing, like this whole idea of like me being a hater or whatever in CrossFit. And my whole take was like, listen, my role here is to tell CrossFit, I love you, you can do better, which is but what all of our CrossFit coaches did. Every one of the people that we paid to like improve our lives, all the gyms that we joined, all the people that we like, are so grateful for, they told us that we can do better. And they were just that external, hey, this is cool, sure, but you can do better. And that's a really valuable piece of feedback to get. And I'm not trying to like aggrandize what I do in the space, but that's kind of the service that I provide as an outsider who's also very much an insider. And so I was explaining that. And I use that same analogy of the CrossFit coach or, like a business coach or a mentor or something. And the video was like 6.5 minutes long. It's not even that long. And someone commented and they're like, ugh, clickbait, 6 minutes in and you haven't even gotten to the point. And I was like, I what?
The whole video is the point.
I was so confused by that. And I like purposefully took a second. I was like, okay, I can't reach this person.
Right.
If they watch me talk directly into their eyeballs, like straight into the camera about what it is I'm trying to communicate, and their takeaway is that I said nothing, how do I communicate with them? And so there's like that end of the extreme, but then there's also the people who are like, they bring up something that like deep down inside I might agree with, and then I have to have this like existential conversation with myself of like, do I thank them? Like, this guy kind of sounds like a dick, it's being a dick to me, but like, do I thank him for this feedback? And sometimes I do, and sometimes I just like meme them back because they're not even worth my time. So like there's a spectrum. Overthinking things is my game. This is like what I do. So like, if you need something way too deeply analyzed, if you can make it so that I'm interested in it, I will analyze the fuck out of it.
Ooh. Okay, that's what you should sell. If I'm over here selling my leg hair that I shave off, that's what you should sell, is like overanalyzing overanalyzer for hire. People will bring you all sorts of problems to tweak on.
I'm sure. It's so much fun. All my gray hair.
No one ever. It's entirely stressful. It's not fun at all. 0% fun.
I'm gonna start sending you my very worst memes and just say what could go wrong with this and get like paragraphs.
I actually really enjoy when you send me those like your little prototype beta. Like, you can't post this.
You
but
guys
I'm
just
so glad you shared it with me.
You guys just outed me. So now the listeners got to know. Like, there's a small. You know who gets them. So for those listening, I do create memes that are way too harsh for the page.
Yes.
Because that's my sense of humor. And so they typically go to Armen, Nikki, Sean Woodland gets them. And then I have a couple of like friends that are in CrossFit. Occasionally I'll send them to Saxon unless they're about him. Or just friends. I'll send them and go, is this over the line? And they almost always go, yes, that's way over the line. You can't post that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my favorite.
Mine are usually the ones that I get. I'm usually like, I don't get it. And John's like, well, you're not funny, so I don't expect you to get it. Yeah. That's how our conversations typically go. You gotta
be funny, Nikki.
I know.
It's not there. What are you gonna do? At least you can beat his ass in Mario Kart.
It's true. I gotta lean into his funny. And I will say, for like all of John's trolling, if anyone ever trolls me on my Instagram, which is like just a teensy tiny fraction of both of yours, but if people troll me on my Instagram, John is like in the comments decimating people, like, don't talk to my Nikki like that. And like I just am in the back like, yes.
That's like picking on my baby sister. I'm allowed to make fun of my sister. You cannot make fun of my sister.
It's the best.
This works. Yeah.
It's the best.
Can't be done.
Family.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't pick on family.
Like the Fast and Furious family.
Yeah. Don't fuck with the meme lord.
Yes.
Family.
That's a good rule. I'm going to make that the headline of my page now. Don't fuck with the meme lord. It's going to be great. All right. Well, Armen, this has been
drift
fun.
out of here.
Yeah.
This has been great, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
Nikki, great to see you as always.
Likewise.
Go shove some more melon in your mouth hole.
I'm literally about to.
There you go. And for everyone listening, we appreciate you guys joining us, and we'll chat with you guys soon.